I like how it says continue as if I've ever played this game. Why does that work? I've never played this! Ah! I'm assuming it starts a new game. Okay, yeah, it looks like it starts a new game whether you hit continue or not. Oh, spacebar. You can fast forward it. Okay. The Pony Express crew is 5 people. Planned shipment duration 382 days. Elapsed transit time 147. I hope this hurts. Whoa. No quiero dolor. Alright, what if I shift tab out of this game for a sec? I want to move you guys on the stream real quick, but if it doesn't pause the game... I think it does. Maybe. Oh no, it's having a time.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Oh, okay. It's fine. 0 days before the crash. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. I'm like, is there a pause function in this or not? It's fine if there isn't, but again, I just need to move your reactives here because it's in the way of the subtitles, and so is mine. You guys go over there. Tends to be the best. Now we'll be, yeah, somewhere up here is fine. Cool. I thought they read stuff for you here, Kenyon. They said there was voices.
Oh, I thought so. I didn't know, but I'm happy to read.
Read. What the
I'll
Sigma?
read for a bit then. An orbital body has been detected 21 AU ahead of the vessel.
I like how someone put washing mouth game. I'm like, it's called mouthwashing.
I put that. I was being
I
derivative.
know.
Please make a manual correction of 1.4 degrees leftwards to avoid impact with unknown mass. Impact your unknown ass. Ooh. It said leftward.
You're right.
Oh.
That was the option it gave me. Steer right or leave.
Yeah. Engaging autopilot to recorrect vessel. Advise crew to take up emergency positions. 4,000 credits docked from crew pay package for failure of navigational staff. Probably gonna press that red button, no? Oh yeah, you know it.
Blocked.
Okay.
Oh, okay, you gotta, right click.
Um.
No, it's not this. What if I click this again? No. Oh, I gotta click out of it again. Okay, it was giving me a hint at the bottom right. I didn't see.
Utility closet, huh?
Can't click on it. I clicked in and...
Nothing else to be done, I guess. Maybe you just
I just
leave.
I want to explore, that's all.
Yeah.
Can't let anyone in.
Do we look for a key? Does it let us grab... Oh, wait, there's a drawer under the computer there.
Oh, can I look at it? Maybe?
It looks like it lets you for a second, but hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I don't think so. Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Ah, the key. We press button.
Tab. Use emergency key. This is crazy. So this man is like making them crash on purpose.
Yeah, dude.
Oh. Now the door's open.
Yeah. Oh.
Not allowed back. You cannot undo what you have done.
Spooky.
Spooky.
And a
Polly
hand.
says, lend a hand.
Giddy up,
Ollie
Galaxy.
says, giddy up, Galaxy.
That's cute.
Is it Polly or Pole?
Polly says, rise and shine. Maybe, what is boye? Boy, because a double L is a Y sound in Spanish. So boye says. Don't be daft. Damn.
I think it's Boye.
That's what we're calling him now. Canon. Giddy up, Galaxy. Why is there so many doors? This is spooky. What are you setting
Just
me?
a damn redundant ass hallway. How many tiny little corridors is there gonna be, man?
All of them.
Oh god. I'm hearing sounds. I'm scared.
I'm also hearing sounds.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
You know, there's more and more posters.
No, it's fine. They just really like Polly.
Fine, it's fine. It's boy, yeah.
Boye.
Big fan.
Big fan.
Kind of
Why are
Biggest fan.
the posters? Boye.
Oh, you could zoom in. I don't like that.
Zoom. Enhance.
Enhance.
Boye.
Enhance.
Oh wait, what about the lights? Do anything about that? No? Okay. Can we turn one of these valves?
We don't know the Lecky.
On the pipes?
I'm clicking on them.
What about the red one?
And babe, I clicked on it all. Like it would have me zoom in.
Maybe it's a PT.
Zoom. Enhance. Oh, maybe we do go back.
Yeah, maybe it's a PT. Oh.
Oh, maybe you lock it.
Don't
No.
let them in.
How can you lock it though? It's not letting
I
me.
don't
Just
know.
lets me open the door again.
Can you open the other door when this one's closed, maybe? No.
Oh. Oh, I don't like that. I think we have to go back.
I don't know, because the lights went out.
I think that's why we know we have to go back.
Oh,
Oh.
it's Boy.
Bye. How about...
Goodbye.
Oh, no. Oh, God!
Oh. Boy,
Boye.
gone.
Boye. Where you go, friend? Boye.
Hello? Friend?
Oh. Oh. Oh, this isn't good.
Boy's gone.
We're trapped in a Boye maze. Ah!
Boy needs medical attention.
Oh, I'm gonna get jump scared so hard. You know, it's funny. My instinct is to press my my run button, and it's on my mouse normally. I'm just like, I just want to start running.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's locked.
Not good.
That actually scared me. Oh, that's funny. I was like, damn it, I knew it too. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. That was funny. I need to turn my fan on over here. What's up, guys? Your gross scraping floor sounds. Floor sounds. Sounds.
The Schlorschlounds.
Okay. Yeah, like I swear there was dialogue reading in this, but I guess the dialogue is a little typing sound.
Anyone else would do the same.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
Ira, you want to do some voice acting today? Impromptu? I didn't think we were gonna need any.
We ain't touching the damn cargo. The hold is locked down for a reason. Only thing worse than dying slowly is not getting paid.
But it could be something useful, I think.
Could be what? Hopes, dreams, and marzipan? Ha!
You don't have to.
If it helps us survive, it's worth it.
Man, Pony Express bosses really aren't chill at all, huh? Come on, a quick look won't hurt.
How exactly is this group therapy committee planning on getting in there?
Alright, right here, boss. You're looking at the meanest wing of the regional junior baseball team. Straight up nearly corked the kid once.
Corked.
I can take the utility axe and,
You were goddamn born fully corked.
Okay, but this man 100% looks like he'd say some shit like this. Like, what?
Right? That's enough, Swansea.
You call him
There has to be
Swanson?
an...
I think it's at Swansea.
That's what I said, Swansea.
Oh, okay, Swansea.
There has to be an in case of emergency way inside.
If I remember correctly from the safety protocols, doors should have an alternate access code. They can only be uncovered using a code scanner device.
And only the captain has access to the scanner. Of course. Go ahead and ask him all about it then. Maybe he'll sing you the blues too. We don't need him if we find the scanner, get the code, and open the hold. For better or for worse, I'm the captain. Look at me. I am the captain.
I am the captain now.
I'll figure it out.
right on.
Spooky.
I'm getting a surfer vibe from Daisuke.
Right on, bro.
Yeah. I guess that's so weird that I say it was Daisuke because I'm pretty sure Daisuke with an I is I love you. So
I love you.
interesting name. Okay. Still feel like I need a hair tie. No, I'm gonna make you look at the boye. You're gonna look at boye. You're gonna stare at him while I go grab a hair tie. Oh my god.
Daisuke.
Actually sell plushies of this guy for kids.
And Daisuke.
You see the vibe it gives me though? This little platform and stuff gives me abiotic vibes. Oof, god, yeah. The movement, the frames. Whew. I got good computer, but whew, it still is a little janky.
Just seems like the movement in the game is intentionally difficult.
into his food bowl. It's empty.
What? What empty little bowl?
For an empty little cat. Time to really sit.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping it's a temporary thing, but if my hair keeps bugging me, I'm gonna end up popping it off. Probably not tonight, but give it some time. Okay, there's some food rations. What is this? Papa Poye's Delights. Table of content: water, gelatin, sweetener, tonic, recipe, cake, drink, meat pie, bread, spaghetti, bologna, carbonara, alfredo, lasagna, a lot of pasta. Oh, there's like a
Water.
It
Water.
actually gives you like
Wait, what's the restricted item that only the captain has access to? Sweetener.
Wow.
Tonic.
yeah, because you can make a mocktail.
I
The
bet this is
Pony
gonna
Express.
be drink base, sweetener, and tonic.
Okay, I guess this is where you combine it all.
This would be a good drinking game. Oh
Be
god,
dead without
Polly.
this thing.
Okay,
Never
so it
thought
is
I'd be
Polly.
thankful for Pony Express Cub.
But I like Polly.
This machine was empty even before the crash. Swansea saw to that. The coffee one. Dragon.
Looks like it'll be soup again for dinner.
Soup.
You wanna rock, paper, scissors for the chicken noodle?
Kenya, are you reading this, I think?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
I
How
can
much
read
food
it,
do
but...
we have left?
I'd say like 4 months-ish?
Less than the remaining air supply, but we can make it last. In theory. We'll be starting to poke new holes in our belts pretty soon to pull that off.
Man, my mom will strip stuff me when I get back. I'll look like Swansea. We'll have a rad story to tell, though. We'll even write articles about us. We could be on TV.
He's looking at the bright side. Look at this guy. All right, look at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll impress the ladies, too.
Hell yeah. The real problem is us running out of toilet paper. Fatal stuff, man.
Get a bidet or just start learning to stick your butt in the shower. I don't know. They're
don't know,
limited on
man.
water, though.
Should leave that part out for the press.
Just gonna have to walk around with dirty asses for 2 months.
Damn.
We're not using the water supply to wipe our asses.
Okay, you can run the shift.
Oh yeah.
There's like 2 different doors. So there's that one. There's this one. Medical room.
The medical room.
This is where our captain is at. I think that's who we were when we started the game.
Fucker.
These are all we have left. We can leave them for now. We don't need them.
Doom this all.
This vent has been busted forever, at least according to Swansea. Probably beyond wrecked now.
Hmm.
Doesn't get a signal anymore. Unfortunately, Anya and Swansea's playlist survived the crash. He doesn't want to keep still anymore.
What about the painkiller?
It just hurts him so much. I can't stand the noise.
You did make it through nursing school, right? Pony Express sure does know how to cut corners, if nothing else.
I was thinking, we never went back into the cockpit after we dragged him out.
It's almost entirely foamed up. Kind of a miracle Curly didn't end up fossilized.
Oh god, you can see him in the background looking towards us, by the way. He wasn't
Yeah, I
before, I don't
know.
think.
But it could still be unstable.
Central hygiene very impotent. Yes, I've heard many good things about this mouthwashing game. Omen gifted it to me and he's been begging me to play it, so we're playing it, baby. I just think, well, it's the only place the code scanner could still be.
Otherwise, we're shit out of luck. I'll take a look.
I know you'll figure it out, Jimmy. You're so capable. Oh, also, well, I was hoping you could help me with the captain.
Curly.
Right, sorry. With Curly's medication?
People have to be worth their titles. Don't you think? Nurse Anya?
So you guys feel free to use the soundboard or react to anything. I made sure it would play through the stream. It's the nice little flavor there. Yeah, forget I asked.
I'll take care of it.
Damn. I guess bro does have a heart. These are all we have left. We're gonna take them.
Damn, that guy look fucked up.
Ooh. Who's hold still, yeah.
Hold still, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't like this any more than you do. You know what they say? Pain is how we know we're still living.
I can't bear to listen. Excuse me, sorry. Oh god.
God. Poke his eye.
Poke his eye.
Zoom in.
Zoom. Enhance.
Ew. You know, at least one of his eyes survived, because what if we need, like, a retinal...
Did you just play with his jaw? That's so weird. Oh my god, stop.
Terrible.
Does that hurt, little baby?
Ew. Yeah, where's Ichigo Kurosaki when we fucking need him, man? Also,
Anya,
no
don't throw
1,000-year
up. We don't
Blood
have
War
food.
spoilers either. No, I'm just kidding. But obviously. Oh, look, you can click whose beds they are. Interesting.
We don't have a whole lot of painkillers left. Do you still want to keep...
Why do you think he did it?
Does it matter? What answer would make you feel any better?
I have to believe that our worst moments don't make us monsters, Jin. I have to. Even in his case.
He tried to take us all down with him, Anya. The way I see it, there's 2 reasons to keep him alive at this point. Guess the important bit is that we all agreed to it, for one reason or another.
I'm still feeling nauseous. I need a minute. Okay.
Okay, we explore. Yeah, I think this is what leads to Captain's quarters, probably. I don't know, though.
I know.
Yeah. It's all foamed up. I assume the foam is like an automatic ship repair type thing.
Oh, she came down here. So lounge, medical,
Oh, this is the cargo.
Yeah, where you need a pin for. Cool. Oh, excuse me. Entry strictly prohibited to unauthorized personnel. Captain has been equipped with a standard issue code scanner to unlock the door in case of emergency. Damage sustained to cargo will be deducted from crew pay. Oh, a lot. Just all of that's about crew pay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Alright. Thank you for helping with Curly. Did you find the code scanner? I hope it's still there. The cockpit is covered in foam. That's all that's about. Okay.
Yeah, I guess we gotta go to the cockpit. That's where we were sent to.
Lounge.
Did you give you a little run?
Here. Yeah. Press shift.
Oh,
and
we
run.
actually do. Yeah, for real.
Okay, so it leads us back up here.
Oh, okay.
It's a loop.
So wait, where's the cockpit? Go back to the end of the loop. There was a cockpit sign. Okay, it says it's that way.
That's probably the other way, didn't it? Or... Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that way.
No, Swansea.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god. How many months pregnant are you, sir? I always believe men could get
7.
pregnant. Wait, Ira, do you want to read this guy's voice? I think you would do really, really well. Hold on, let me turn you down just a tad, though. But I think you would do really well picking a voice for this man.
Give me 1 second to get over to him. All right. Let's see. Ain't you supposed to be figuring out our great cargo robbery?
Why are you standing out here?
None of your goddamn business.
Everything is my business now, because of Curly. I don't want to keep having this conversation.
Right. Capitano. I'm working. Blue-collar fools can't afford to stop working even when the machine does. Go figure that. And before you start, I'm taking a break. Don't you worry. I ain't going over my break time allowance.
Working on what? How does it look in there?
It's a solid wall of foam. I'm trying to see if I can break it down enough to get something useful out. Any of my tools. But if I breach that foam and break the air seal, it's lights out for all of us. I ain't letting anyone else mess around in there.
Even Daisuke? He's your intern. He's supposed to be helpful.
You think I'm letting that knucklehead in here after that crash roughed it up? our so-called nurse nearly skewed her leg when the vent hatch was open during the maintenance. And that was before the crash. I warned her, but it's in one ear and out the other. Then there's that teeny bopper thinking only with his downstairs long nose.
Is what?
That's what he's called, his
Just
penis.
like my useless kids back home. So no, I ain't letting anyone mess around in here.
All right, Swansea. Keep me updated.
Wow. Nice job reading.
Well,
To the cockpit.
This will be quicker than Danganronpa.
Yeah,
Alright.
for sure. General runtime should be about 2 hours. 2 to 3, I
Also,
think it said.
thanks for sharing the quote. I believe our worst moments don't make us monsters, Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
2024. Oh, that zoom in. I forget that you can do that.
Wibbly
Zoom.
wibbly.
Enhance. 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 Okay,
Man,
sorry.
man, go back. Oh no.
Make code.
Nice. Code scanner. About that utility closet.
Danger.
Mm.
It should be useful if the main power shuts down. Okay.
What about the rope? So let you take the rope?
No. This pipe must have broken off during the crash.
Right, well, we got the code scanner.
Yes, we did.
Oh god. The way you run in is creepy.
I know, right? Hasn't let anyone in the utility since the crash. This is filled with foam. Okay. I wanted to see for
Nah, I
myself.
bet that man's got a food supply. Something. He's hiding something in. We want to go the other way to the cargo.
Okay. I want to look around. Make sure people are in different places now.
Maybe they're gathered around cargo.
Oh my god. That's terrifying.
Yeah, bitch.
I'll just close that for now. Let them have some privacy. Look at a fried chicken tucked away for a rainy day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The Colonel's finest.
Yeah,
Gravy.
they're all got them, bro. I don't know. I am going to click on them first. Oh.
What do you guys think we've been shipping? If it's spare parts, maybe me and Swansea can repair the ship and we can get out of here. Right, Swansea?
Quit yapping.
Unless you don't want to read continuously, let me know. Yeah, Kenya will just read it.
If he's gonna talk for a long time, I'll make sure Ira's paying attention, but Ira's probably doing something.
Fine. Eventually,
read.
I want to play Overwatch because I have battle pass things to do, but
Well, get on with it.
we're gonna finish this in its entirety.
Kind of reminds me of the boss from King of the Hill.
This is
Sprinkled with
all
200
you.
different herbs and
I want
spices.
it duly noted that I had no involvement with this.
Are we doing the right thing? Let it be medicine, food, or water. Sip of my water.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Reminder to hydrate.
Maybe you can use tab. Pull out the code scanner. Yeah.
Click.
Where do I shine it on? Question.
Maybe if you shine it on the keypad, does it show
Oh,
like...
over here.
Oh, there we
This
go.
thing.
There it is.
4517. Okay, heard. Nice. It's boxes. Oh, that's a
Whoa.
huge cargo hold.
Oh, oh. Game glitching a bit. Okay, that's why it was loading.
I think,
Oh,
yeah. Sounded
it
like it was
scared me.
intentional.
Are you listening? Oh, who wants to read Curly? I could though too.
All you,
Who's
I
that?
guess.
That's the captain. Yeah, damn, I'm so sorry. Couldn't sleep again. But I passed the psych eval? Well, you gave the same answers as last time. I do wish you'd open up a little more, Captain. These valuations aren't just about you. As long as I'm fit to fly and your eyes on you. Oh, stop it. Guess that means I only have one more eval left to do. Jimmy? He asks if I do these things for fun. Then I have to make a report with things like, I have found myself sexually excited at the sight of cartoon horses. Ha!
Oh,
Well,
what?
I could take it off your hands. It sounds like Jimmy gives her, like, stupid answers.
Yeah.
Really?
Skibbity.
I've known him for a long time. He won't try any bullshit with me. I suppose you are the captain. I am the captain. Huh? MLP? Skibbity horse, literally, yeah.
The skibbity answers is he giving?
Literally. Thank you. What a relief. Oh,
Jimmy's
before
just a
I
brony.
forget, Swansea
Oh, no.
asked me to give you this. They can't expect me to perform miracles.
To-do list.
Not sure what it means, but sounds like fun. Good luck, Captain. Talk to Jimmy and Swansea.
Okay, so you're Curly
Wow.
now.
Yeah. Do
What?
I need to take this? No.
No, that's her
Oh.
notepad.
Well, I was gonna say I gotta do the thing for her, right? This is where Carly's at. And then Swansea and Daisuke have been fixing this broken vent for days. Best to stay away. Okay.
It's definitely going to be somewhere where we vent later to hide from the boya.
Oh no.
The horse that you're sexually attracted to.
Well,
Oh no.
I'm just a bro.
No.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just a chill guy.
No.
The door to my quarters. I'm still on the clock though. Oh. Oh, scratches.
I like how it doesn't let us see what he looks like. To see what Jimmy looks like now. And Pony Express said they don't provide onboard entertainment.
Feels like there's always something broken in that room. Tulpar's starting to show her age.
Past inspection, right? Shouldn't be an issue.
Plus they added Daisuke last minute. Didn't account that there'd be 5 of us now. I really should have made a bigger stink about that. Interesting. He clicks on him again.
Maybe you should intervene. Or we could just close the door. Your call, Captain.
Okay. Do something. Okay, so this was in the
Oh my
room.
god, Daisuke's in the foam!
Well, I can see the issue.
Ira.
This kid was brought on just to make me suffer.
I feel like I need to turn Ira up. Yeah. It's
No,
fine. It's probably just.
I mean, maybe. I
It's on...
thought it was
No,
fine.
no, no. Ira's
Is this
fine.
any better?
No, you're fine. It's my Discord and I'm turning you up for stream. I just want to make sure they can hear you well enough. Go ahead.
Intern my ass.
I think it's a little...
I was just trying to fix the vent. How did that trigger the emergency phone?
Because you're talented in all the wrong ways. I would have dealt with this, but only you can unlock the axe case. Every goddamn thing has to go through you.
I'll handle it. Hang in there, Daisuke. But Daisuke. Probably saying it wrong. It's fine. Figure it out.
Daisuke.
Daisuke.
Daisuke!
Yeah, I was gonna say that's I love you. Alright, teaching him the basics. Got a long way to go.
Trying to say he's a heartthrob?
Damn.
Damn.
No, it's just saying his name with an I instead of an E literally means I love you in Japanese, but...
Right. We probably
Daisuke!
gotta... Oh, there we go. We gotta scan the thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, we got to scan the thing. It's probably outside the room, right?
It's on the axe case.
Oh, is
That's
it on
what
the
I was trying to
axis?
point out when I said that.
Oh, I see. 2609. Take.
Cut his legs off.
I already tried to murder them all. We don't even know why.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly.
Strong stuff, huh?
Brother.
Get it through your goddamn skull. The vent is strictly off limits. Fully fucking collapsed inside.
Oh, damn.
You looking to get impaled, electrocuted, or cooked?
And cook.
Yeah, but like... you can't fit in there to fix it, right?
Yeah, you're 9 months
Damn.
pregnant, bro. You can't fit in there.
Oh no.
Dot.
He's got that Walmart manager look.
Really?
That's all I
Damn.
gotta say.
What you trying to say?
So I can totally handle it.
Captain, give me the axe.
Swansea, this could have damaged the pods. Can't let something like this happen again.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it. Loud and clear.
Keep the axe until you've cleaned this all up, yeah?
Damn. That's funny.
But like, they don't have enough pods for
Those
everyone.
loose electrical wires are a hazard in itself, especially with dice around. Damn.
Alright, now we gotta talk to Jimmy.
Emergency
Gonna touch
cryogenic
Jimmy.
pods. They have about 20 years of backup power. Interesting.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we could slip into those pods for 20 years. I take it Anya diagnosed you with being sane then.
Just off center, but it's what keeps me on my toes. I said I'd do yours. I want to hear all about those cartoon horses. Jimmy got a brain blast. Is that something you were born with or recent develop?
Alright, shut up. Let's go to the cockpit.
Let them be dummies by themselves in there.
I don't like
Uh-oh.
this.
I don't
don't
think
like
this
this at
hallway
all.
was always this long.
Okay. I don't like this.
Woo! I'm running down! I like wish I could jump and just fall. Like in Minecraft.
You
Only
know,
this was
you just keep
deadlocking,
going
you just
straight.
start
You can trick your
gliding.
brain into thinking you're going up.
I don't like that. I feel like it's just going straight though, instead of down. Looks like you're going up. Yeah, exactly.
Ah!
I'm scared, guys.
Zoom! Enhance!
I'm
Well,
scared.
let's look behind us. This seems like an opportune time.
Exit.
Um.
Oh, all right.
mm,
Well, looks like we're jumping.
Yeah, the most sane thing to do.
What the?
Oh. Alright, this is freaky.
Yeah, dude. Oh, stars.
Let's take a dip in the blood ocean.
It's kind of beautiful out there. It's like we're on another planet. Look up at the sky.
We are.
Yeah. No. No.
Oh, there's a whale in the blood ocean.
Space whales.
Oh, it's honking now.
What?
Oh, emergency. Paging Dr. Beat.
Oh
What
my
in the
God.
goddamn? Oh, a ladder.
So,
What
Many
in
ladders.
the goddamn?
Whoa.
I ain't mopping all this blood up.
Whoa.
I might be illiterate, but I think there's an emergency.
Ah!
Oh. Are these ladders? Are they rails?
I
It's
think
like a
they're
railway?
ladders. Not like you can climb up them or anything.
Oh wait, the sun. Sun's coming up.
sure that's the sun?
It looks like the
Could
sun.
be. Could be.
My eyeballs. Vampire hissing.
It's Boya.
My mouth is too dry for that. Enhance. No, I'm just kidding. We gotta press W. Enhance.
Oh, I thought that was a mouse for
You
some
try
reason.
putting it to Wumbo. It does look like a mouse.
Is it the cockpit? Imagine a theoretical ship in the fourth dimension where you have to go through that every time you want to go to the cockpit.
Man, it's having an experience.
Oh my god.
Is he on drugs? I
Hey,
mean,
Jimmy,
I'm on a drug, but not the
was
right
there-
one, clearly.
Is there LSD in that pencil I ate this morning? You can't just make something up for this? It's not like these evals ever go anywhere when we get back.
We'll power through it. Have you been able to complete your mandated task as co-pilot efficiently and to your fullest capacity?
Let's see.
I'll just put good for that one. That's all of them, done and done. How are things otherwise, off the record?
I like it. We're in control here.
Didn't think you'd ever take to being a freighter pilot as well as you have. With how you struggled back on Earth. God complex. Oh god, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
LSD
mean-
as fuck too.
Sure, all I ever hear is how great a leader you are. Honestly, it's kind of annoying.
Give me 1 second, I wanna
You know, I'd
I'm gonna
rather not
snooze
be
those
god of
brakes.
a
Actually, can I snooze
blood
them for
ocean
longer?
world.
Fuck, I'm gonna just have to press it again. It's fine. I don't care. If I could turn off ads, I would.
So, what is it?
Hmm?
How come it always seems like you're standing on the edge of a bridge with your feet in cement?
Also, Ira, do you mind muting in between things? I'm sorry, I'm just streaming as all. I just hear you clicky clacky a little bit. Like, it's fine normally otherwise. Lately I've just been thinking, is this enough? Should I stay here because I've been successful at it? A good long haul freighter captain?
What, and that's bad?
That's what I'm saying, it's not, but it's terrifying. I think, am I figured out? Is this all I'll ever be? Or do I take the risk and try something new? Even if I'm bad at it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I guess I get it. You reach the highest rung on this ladder. So now you're thinking, well, maybe what if I'm on the wrong ladder altogether?
Oh, there's the ladder.
Still a long way down from the top, no matter how you think of it.
Somebody did LSD and then made this game, bro. This game feels like an acid trip already. I've done
Yeah.
acid, so...
While me, on the other hand, I'm still climbing and climbing.
Something like that. But hey. You know I believe in you. Here. On Earth. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. You should write that on the psych eval.
Message incoming.
Oh no. Big guys themselves. Guess that's my cue. I'll see you later.
Fake news from corporate.
From corporate? Uh-oh.
Oh, it doesn't let me see it. The fuck?
We're in storage.
Mr. Grimace.
We're
is
in the
there
cargo
cheese
hold.
Is there cheese
That's
borgers
definitely a
on
Jimmy response on one of the psych evals.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. We're just walking through a dark cargo hold.
Oh, I don't like that. 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 I don't like it. It reminds me of something I don't even want to name. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like this. This better.
Booyah!
High wages and steady employment. First aid and health protection. Accident and life insurance. Time off for vacation. The employee working for a profitable business can maintain a savings account, own his own home, and have plenty of leisure to enjoy the peace and quiet of family life. When investors receive a business operating at a steady profit can give its workers security and employee
Oh,
benefits.
it do a loop.
Operating at a profit,
Yeah, it's just
a
looping.
business can provide the employee with
Oh, we can change channels.
Wow.
It's space. Or... Oh, it's a black hole.
Oh,
That's
is
cool.
that Dynamo?
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 So when the anomaly happened and deadlock came to existence.
Kind of looks
It's
like that
Dynamo.
guy's eye.
answer to a dream as old as man himself. A giant of limitless power at man's command. And where was it science found that giant?
You want me to dismiss the ad?
A
Please.
particle so infinitely small that it takes over 100 billion atoms to make
Wow.
Although no one has ever here, in fact, is the
Hmm.
answer to a dream.
Oh.
That'll good.
Oh. This is what's in
Oh.
the cargo?
Those look like pigs. It looks like a butcher. This is definitely a butcher shop.
Oh.
Is this what we're shipping?
Oh, I mean, it'd be useful if it was food.
I feel like we're shipping mouthwash.
Spoilers.
Maybe, I don't know.
Hurry, step right up, folks. Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ISM. ISM will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefits of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss. Government control, no worry about votes. Name your own salary. Bigger crops, lower cost. Why, ISM even makes the weather perfect every day.
Ism. Funny skeleton man.
Whoa. I didn't think we're gonna have to keep changing through the channels. I just thought we were gonna have to stop watching and it would okay.
Oh, look at that.
Dragon
Dragon
new
breath.
dental hygiene product.
You're welcome.
Brand new formula designed to kill bacteria and kill germs without leaving a bad taste. All day fire fresh. Yeah, dragon! Woo! Sponsored by our own dragon.
You're very welcome.
Wow, okay, that was
Yeah,
interesting.
I was right. Okay. This is...
Alcohol?
Unfucking believable.
There's gotta be an ocean of the stuff in here.
Well, that answers that question.
This room looks freaking endless.
Say it, man. You can get drunk. That's it. Have fresh breath and be drunk.
This is what they'd have 5 people hauling for over a year. All of this? For mouthwash?
The sugar content probably offsets any potential as a disinfectant.
Ira?
Ida.
Disinfectant? What are you? Let me see that.
He went, and he snatches it out of her fucking hand.
Stream
Sorry.
pause.
I know, it is. I was adjusting. Every time I press shift tab, it'll do a stream pause on Discord. Disinfected.
No, is he gonna do it? Oh no.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, I can drink this.
14% ethanol. Ha!
Haha. Huh? I suppose we'll smell good at least?
Ira?
That's right, kiddo. You can bet your ass on that one.
What are you doing? Oh my god, her hands are massive. Stop that. Ah, what did I tell you?
Now shut up. I'm just an old cogger taking care of his dental hygiene.
Poor Ira, who actually went to the dentist today, and he was like, when he
Yeah.
came back home, he was like, yeah, I didn't get my wisdom tooth pulled today, but they did power wash later on my teeth.
Ira?
You hear that? That's the sound of 15 years of sobriety popping like a cyst.
Oof.
Oof.
A glorious, magnificent, red-hot cyst.
Ugh.
Good riddance and cheers.
Ugh.
Gross.
The Captain Curly. Here, here.
Guess anyone could get seriously blasted off this stuff.
Yeah, and just maybe kill you in the process.
This can't be real. There's no way.
Now, we can go out in style. Daska, come here. Any one of you ever teach how to drink like a man?
Oh.
Glitching game. Brrr.
Whoa.
Oh. It does that on purpose.
Brr.
Need to tell them.
Captain's trying to tell them
Break
that
the
he's
news.
fucking crazy.
We're all on LSD.
Hey guys. Hey guys. Oh, it's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Surprise!
Surprise! Look at your face.
Hey, gotcha. Wow. What's the occasion? You only get one communal birthday party per trip, right? We can have it whenever.
Only one person can really be surprised birthdayed per trip. We did Swansea last haul, remember? So,
No way. I can't believe I missed that.
you were next on the list. So congratulations, man. Hate to say it though, your duties have to extend to even your own birthday party.
You're the only one with clearance to make the cake. The recipe is there by the machine. Hop to it, Captain.
Wow. So you
Hop to it,
they're
Captain.
teaching us. No, hawk to
Hawk
a
to a-
hawk to
it.
a captain. Who's
Hawk
gonna
To
give
it, Captain.
who's gonna go to
Hey,
medical and give
Captain.
we're at it.
I want to read
I
the
was
letter.
wondering what your favorite moment in the Talk to a podcast was. Mine was when they were talking about Hawk to a
Hop to it, Captain.
That was mine too.
Captain. Yeah, we're on the same page.
All right,
Swansea.
guys, we're officially out of painkillers. Who's gonna go give Captain Curly the hawk to it in the medical room?
No!
It's not like he can-
No!
Well, I
Stop.
better hop to it then.
No,
Oh,
Hugger,
Swansea,
no!
no anyone but you. I
No!
love mouthwash.
My mouth ain't never been cleaner. It's gonna be good.
Don't worry, Captain. It's clean as hell.
2, 3, 4. Where do I get it from now?
The vending machine, maybe? I don't know.
Probably. Maybe.
No. Okay.
2, 3, 4, 1 is the code.
Oh,
Not
numbers.
the record player.
Huh?
Numbers.
Oh,
I
it is
like
the record. Oh,
numbers.
that's not a record player.
Wait, can we make the other drink?
We will be able to with mouthwash. I'm sure. There's no way that we don't make mouthwash
think
cocktails
so.
in this goddamn fucking thing.
Yeah, who doesn't want some mouth-washed cocktails?
Oh my god.
And now
Think
we
about
put
it,
in.
plenty of clean hot chews and all the mouthwash.
Mhm,
No. Also, yeah, now there's an ad playing. I think. But it only ring 30 seconds.
1324.
Well, hold on. I want to put this away. That's why I'm like, how do? I don't remember now. Turn it off.
Also, we don't need the tonic recipe. So
I know. Water, gelatin. Oh, I need to take the sweetener out because I need to mix the other two first. Mix water and gelatin.
Actually, we make a mocktail instead, and they're like, Captain, we asked you to make a cake. What is this?
The water is 3142.
The gelatin is 4213. 4213.
Okay.
And then what?
And then it says use sweetener. And
Cake base and sweetener.
Yeah, all the controls for this feel very antibiotic. Wow.
Wow.
That's cute. Gotta make a speech. What? No.
What?
No.
Can't argue with that.
Talk to us, Captain.
Talk to us, Captain.
Go on.
Hey. What's wrong, man?
That's all it said on the report from management. We will receive the paycheck for this delivery. I don't know any more than that.
Ira?
Pony Express finally kicking the bucket, huh? What a joke, and we're the punchline.
I don't have any savings. They can't just do this, right?
Ira?
Yeah, a
Pony
lot of us
Express
can
was
relate.
one of our last manned crew fighter operations.
Right.
The writing's been on the wall for a long time.
When did they tell you?
Earlier this week. I was instructed to wait until we were closer to the halt destination. They can't keep something like this from you all.
So, I guess you got what you wanted, right? Without the guilt.
Jim, if I had known.
I can go back to my... Oh, what? How'd you put it? How was it you put it? Struggle of a life, right? Anya never got into medical school because she's, well, let's be real here. And how many employment years Swansea got left in him, huh? How many? Daisuke will be fine. Mommy and Daddy have him covered, so at least there's that for all of us. But you? Headed for bigger and better thing, right?
I'm just working on my life. Being a place I don't have to fucking escape. That's what I was trying to tell you. Nothing more.
We're the ones you're trying to escape from. Leave the dirt behind now that your boots are clean.
That's not what I meant.
It is what you meant. You just couldn't frame it to yourself in a way that kept you as the hero. Abandon the crew, but remain the model captain. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
What am I supposed to do?
Let's have some fucking cake, huh? Props to the Twilight Cruise of the Tulpar. Props to our captain and his new prospects. Gotta use the knife to cut cake. This is fucking wild, dude.
Oh, you gotta use Wazda to cut it? Okay. Go back and
Wild.
forth.
Same, Anya, yeah.
That's so weird. Oh, about the savings thing, yeah. I don't know.
Wild, dude.
Goodbye, cake.
3 months after the crash. Oh, we're running out of food and air real quick here.
He's still asleep.
Check on Curly. Give Curly the hawk to
Oh.
But you're the captain. You gotta give him the hawk too.
Not the bottles of mouthwash everywhere, bro. We're all
Isn't that
fucking drunk.
Swansea's.
It is Swansea's bed, yeah.
Just a handful left. When teas are out, oh, nothing. Keep him quiet. Take the painkiller. I don't know if he's been given his medicine yet. I don't think so. He looks like he's freaking the fuck out.
Probably downstairs.
God, I see the
Screaming,
screen glitching.
avoiding pain.
Curly, you want another cake with a touch of hawk too?
A hawk of Tua.
A hakatua.
Hakatutu.
This is filled with foam.
Yeah, well, fuck Swansea.
I mean,
Maybe
but
she's
listen
in
to
the
that.
cockpit?
Pause.
The
Is that just
lounge?
curling?
Yeah, that's just Curly.
I don't know, the crying just sounds like it's coming from over there. Whatever sound that is.
Maybe she's in the cockpit?
What direction is it?
To the right. 180. There you go. To the right. Keep going to the right.
Oh, further.
Past utility.
I don't know, it just sounds like it's coming from in there.
They're venting. They're venting.
Yep. Maybe he's gonna... Yeah.
Mungus. No, I understand completely. If that's how it has to be.
Ira.
Swansea.
Oh, it's you.
Jimmy. Not able to sleep either?
It's nighttime. Why are you talking this late? Anya, are you crying?
No, don't worry, I'm okay.
We all need to keep it together.
I'm trying to think
Okay.
that Daisuke, if he wasn't the one passed out next to us, did he fall through the vent or something?
No, I think it's just Curly. I think Daisuke was sleeping.
Hmm.
Because that's everybody accounted for. There's only 5 on the
Yeah,
ship.
you're right.
We all need to keep it together. Ira.
Oh, I'm keeping it together. Don't you worry, Captain.
Curly's just that fucking loud, bro. Damn.
He's making noises again. Did you give him his meds before, Anya?
No, must have slipped my mind. I'm sorry,
I'll do it.
No, really, I'm perfectly okay.
I said I'll do it.
God, why is he so fucking loud? Keep it down over here, buddy. It's up here, right?
So can I just say, I know this is a situational, but my god, is Jimmy kind of a dick?
I'm
A
upset.
little bit, yeah. I'd say so. Tab. Yeah. Come on. Stop with the fucking noise. Damn it. I know what everyone's thinking. The way they look at me. What could I even say? And then, what would she do? Damn it. Here we are now. Me in the driver's seat. Thanks for that. Open up. Hope these make you feel fucking better. Sound.
God damn, Jimmy, chill.
Oh my god.
Beating the shit out of him.
Blaps, thank you for the follow.
Feel better, buddy?
Jesus
Feeling
Christ.
better? It's a pretty mouth you got there.
Stop it.
Damn,
Stop it.
Jimmy.
Stop it. Kenyon, why are you like this? Oh.
We all do things in the throes of passion there, Jimbo.
Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa. Hold on, I gotta
Squeaky
finish
Well,
rubbing my eyeball.
We get to hawk 2 of that birthday cake.
No!
Get the old
We should have some.
Yeah.
Why? It's mediocre at best, obviously.
Sometimes you can only get the subpar stuff. That's what makes the really good stuff. Well, good, right?
Why bother?
Hey, we all try to escape. Didn't work for any of us. I've thought many times, is this what peace feels like? And is it good enough? If I'm being real, it certainly isn't the best. All I can do is try and make my life one I'm not trying to run from all the time. Sometimes I'll be promoted, I'll buy a house, fall in love, but other times I'll just have some awful fucking cake with my friend. Right now, that sounds pretty brilliant, yeah? So, if you'll do the honors, right? Oh,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, let me go find a knife.
Yeah, Jimmy. Get that knife and put some hawk 2 on that cake.
Find a knife. The ominous find a knife message is just
What could go wrong?
choice.
Could go wrong. The cake's made of the
Checking on him.
horse.
Mm-hmm. I'm like,
Well, knowing this game, the knife is in the cockpit, so
all the mouthwash bottles.
all the mouth. Yeah. How'd I know? Everything's always in the cockpit in this fucking game, huh?
I'm just pressing W. I'm just pressing W.
Cockpit looks different every time.
I'm just pressing W. Oh, well,
Well, there's an axe.
Oh.
Oh! Hi.
Beast. Yes.
Wait, Beast? Where'd you see Beast?
Feast.
Oh, okay. Oh. Jeez. Alright, I guess we go back to have cake.
Yeah, what could it go wrong?
We get to feast on the cake now. The mediocre, shitty cake.
Yeah, it's definitely not gonna be boy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And Jimmy would totally not like that.
There's even birthday music. Yay. Oh. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I left this door open.
No.
Oh, the eye. We love that. Oh. Yeah, we get to cut into the cake.
Yep.
Wait, hang on. Is that Poye behind us? It's too late.
It's not too late.
Oh, that's definitely Poye. We're standing on him.
Oh, boy.
He deserved it.
Cut the cake.
Oh, God.
I didn't know we would be having Rimworld cake today.
Oh.
Oh.
Of course
Doesn't
it
let
would
you
stop
do
us.
it. It stops you, yeah.
Oh
That's
no, 4
insane.
months. Oxygen goes out now.
No, wasn't it food?
Oh, wait.
Food first, then oxygen.
Maybe you're right, yeah.
Oh, shit.
He's
Hey,
wasted.
buddy.
How many have you had? Those will kill you before...
Before anything else. I know. My mom found this internship for me. Such a slacker, she said. I don't know. I just never knew what I wanted to be. Never was good at anything. Total screw up.
We're not done yet, Daisuke.
Just hope she doesn't blame herself. Please, just take it. I don't want to look at this stuff anymore.
Alright then. Mouthwash cocktail. Ira, be ready.
Ira, you're jamming.
He's still
Look
got
at you.
the axe, bro.
You're jamming.
There's the big man himself, Jimbo.
Jimbo.
Listen. This is the best part. Ooh.
You're a mess, Swansea.
It'll be
Ira.
all the sad motherfuckers of the Tulpar and the sky with diamonds. And Captain Jimmy pulling the plug on the party before the last call.
Jamming out.
He's been blasting this music all night. At least I think it's night. Hard to tell anymore. broke vending machine.
Wow. Oh, there's something.
Swansea.
It's Swansea's card.
Got an
1, 2,
achievement
3,
for
8.
that.
1, 2, 3, 8. Maybe that's how we get into the utility.
Maybe.
Keeping it in mind. 1, 2, 3, 8. Anya.
Ah. Oh, you startled me.
Sorry.
No worries.
You thinking about drinking that too?
Honestly, yeah. It'd probably just make me feel sick. Wouldn't fix anything. Much as I'd like it to.
Right.
Hey, I was thinking. Do you know that not all of the medicine aboard was in my office? We stored some in the storage locker in the hallway.
Why haven't you brought this up earlier?
It was foamed up. I didn't think it was possible to reach it. But I've been estimating the position of the foam. I think the medicine deposit locker isn't too far into the mass of it. You try and break it down.
And strike too many on a weak spot. We'll all get sucked into space.
I think it's worth the risk.
Nothing else? I guess it's an excuse to get Swansea to hand over the axe. Make mouthwash cocktail.
To convince him.
Oh, I bet you are going to have to do that.
Jimbo! El Capitano, the man with the plan.
I think it's worth getting sucked into space. Okay, good idea, Anya. Yeah, exactly.
You done? I need that.
This whole thing, this was entrusted to me by our previous tragically inclined leader. Big responsibility. But you know all about that, huh?
This man is so menacing while he's dancing.
I'm going to try and get some more painkillers. Do something useful, you know?
Damn,
Oh,
Jay will
I
let the man
heard all
fly.
about it.
Sorry, what'd you say, Dragon?
So he's just not even gonna let the man vibe.
I'm
Let him
saying,
vibe.
wants to vibe.
You're looking to pull the plug on this party early.
No.
Trying to save us.
Take matters into your own hands, huh? Be my guest.
So that's
So
how
that's how
that
the
got
screen
broken.
got broken, yeah. Yeah, my VR sunset.
Eh,
We gotta grab the axe, babe.
You're right. Sorry, Moogie distracted me. He was trying to jump up here.
George!
I was like, are you gonna do it or not? I'm like, now's your time, buddy. He decided not to. The orange decided he did not want to jump in my lap.
No orange. No sunset either.
See the phone by the hallway to medical. You can kind of see the locker there.
Okay. I think it's the other way. Oh, wait, no. No, you're right. I was right the way. Phone in the hallway by medical. Yeah,
This one?
right there.
Maybe I need to click into it first.
Maybe you're right, yeah. Nice. Painkillers. Oh. Alcohol.
I see purple alcohol. Oh, you done else one Z. No, to a Hawkins for you. Oh,
Oh.
spooky bitch. Oh wow, Jim, you did it.
Yeah, it actually wasn't that hard once I figured it out.
Amazing, really.
Sure.
I hate to ask you again, but could you give Curly his painkillers? It still just makes you so nauseous.
Yeah, you're not serious. Look, I've entertained your sentimentality up until now, but I'm trying to actually fix things, Anya.
Oh,
I'm getting us through this.
I.
It's find the code scanner, then figure out the door code, and then get the axe, and then chop up the foam, but not too much. And best of all, give Curly his fucking medicine. But I'm bearing it. I have to. Because the captain has to take fucking responsibility on this goddamn ship.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Go make sure Daisuke doesn't choke on his own fucking vomit.
No, I can.
I'll take care of it, Anya. I always do.
Damn, bro. He's such a dick.
Yeah, he's being a dick. He's not really helping. Cut the cake.
Oh, there's a sunset back there too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just straight up kill this guy?
What if we gave him mouthwash?
First,
Does it let us?
Painkiller.
I think I understood the pressure you were under before. Fuck. Tried to tell me, too. Our worst moments don't make us monsters, huh? You were a good captain, Curly. And you'll be one again. We'll get us both through this. They feeding this man, too?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have to be, right?
He'd be dead after 4 months. At least he didn't beat the shit out of him this time. Gasp.
Doesn't. 6 hours until judgment? Excuse me? Ira.
Jimmy, get the fuck out of here.
Let me get the fuck out of here!
We're doing something in here. Utility? Rope.
You can't hide!
Neutron.
Oh, code scanner. What? What the fuck is that? What are those? Is that the code scanner? No.
I think it is. It's only you
Can't
touch
grab it though.
Is it telling us to do something with the rope? Can't use this here. Okay. Okay.
Oh.
We did that.
Venting.
Sussy venting.
I don't have anything else in my possession.
Maybe one of the screens.
It's all foamed up.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
was
what
that
about the
something?
broken pipe? The broken pipe?
Where?
Next to the door, to the left.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh!
Holy shit, Swansea's gonna kill us all.
I'm gonna chop you up. Alright.
Into 20 fucking pieces.
It just went away eventually.
Yeah, 20-piece nugget.
Oh shit.
You doing okay? Yeah. Can't sleep. I know how that is. I just toss and turn. Just stare at the ceiling all night. I actually kind of like the nighttime window screen. You can believe it. So just come look at it sometimes. You look really, really close. You can see there's a dead pixel in the upper right corner. That's so. Nope. Don't see it. In the back of my mind, it's always there. Now I'll go bonkers looking for it. Cheers.
Yeah, 20. Pretty exact number.
I don't think it ruins the illusion though, it's peaceful. But maybe I'm just used to looking at the bigger picture. How many days of transport do we have left? Let's see. Off the top of my head, around 237 days. Just under 8 months. Hey, why do you think Pony Express put a lock on the medical room door, but not in the sleeping quarters? Suppose for the same reason they put a lock on the cockpit. Safety. Oh.
Jesus.
Oh, I had to move it around. Oh.
Oh,
5
wow.
months after the crash. Oh. Dragon.
Jimmy. Jimmy, help. Jimmy, it's a total emergency.
Calm down. What is it?
Anya's stuck in medical. The door won't open. What if she runs out of, something?
Right. Okay. Let's go have a look.
Quickly, Jimmy, she's gonna run out of oxygen before the rest of us.
Medical's the other way.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, he's just
Oh,
following
oh,
me.
that's okay.
Okay.
Apparently he's an SCP. Can't move while you're looking at him.
Yeah, I don't think he can move while you're looking at it. Oh, that's fucking creepy, dude. Okay. Okay. That's not okay. Ah! Fucking freaking me out, dude. Quit getting closer to me. Shut the door behind you. This is not okay.
Oh. I think it's not even supposed to be the jump
That's
scare.
fucking
That's just...
wild.
Sorry, Jimmy. I'm a little too shy to walk.
They had
where
to
you're
have
looking at
programmed
me.
that to be that creepy, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Honey, how about Jimmy? We're here to rescue you. Don't worry. Don't panic. I'm not an SCP.
Hey, I heard the lock's broken. Hey, Anya. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jimmy.
The rest of our medicine stash is in there too, okay? Damn. Could be bad. Did you try to really put your back into it?
Any wrenches laying around? How heavy is the bed kit?
Anya, is the door actually stuck?
No.
Huh? What do you mean?
Look, we're all stressed. But you can't go breaking down every little hardship, okay? Open the damn door.
You were right. You were right all along.
Oh
I
no.
should have done this from the beginning.
Oh
I
god.
always believed that our worst moments didn't define us, didn't make us beyond repair. You think I wanted this either? Make no mistake, this isn't my worst moment. Far from it. It's the best decision I'll ever make.
Open the door, Anya.
I'll take care of it.
Oh my god, Jimmy.
Anya?
He
What's
fucking
that
drove her
mean?
to suicide. Curly is still in there with her, right?
Yeah, you don't think...
Daisuke. You and Swansea know the internals of the ship better than anyone. There's absolutely no other way into medical?
We already know the answer to
vent.
that, and it's dangerous.
Well... Swansea said it was strictly off limits. Like, super mega not allowed above all else.
The utility room?
That busted vent in there loops into medical. But I mean, technically a person could totally fit through it.
If that's the only way, we'll make it work. You listening, Anya? Fine. Come on, Daisuke. Oh, jeez. They have all
I
the
don't like
painkillers.
this.
2168, I think, was Swansea's card. Go look in the vending machine. Is it still there?
1238.
No.
It's not there. Okay, you wrote it down, Dragon?
I typed it into a search bar. And I just
Okay.
left it there.
Nice.
Swansea, we need your help. I know you said utility was dangerous, but
I'm good right here, fellas. And you know I'm not letting you in there. Off limits.
Look, if there's any possibility...
Jimbo. Letting you scratch that phone will be useless. You'd only tear this goddamn ship a new asshole. Nothing to be done about it. Bad luck. Tail missed the donkey.
but Swansea, this could be really bad. Just hear us out.
We're God's hand-picked favorites on this here planet, I reckon. Means we get to name it. So let's hear it for Wake Rock. Whatever's going on anywhere else ain't my problem. 'Cause I'm the happiest man Wake Rock's ever seen.
Let's just go, Dice Gang. There's no point with him. You gotta move it around, huh?
Nope.
Is that how it works?
Not
Oh.
every time.
God.
8 hours until judgment. Whoa.
Don't do anything. Stop. 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 I can fix this.
Why do you keep fucking saying that? You hearing yourself?
He looks like he got axed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We still have disinfectants, right? One from the extra medical stash. Get it now.
The cocktail.
The cocktail? What are you blabbering about?
That was your fault. You would never have. I had no choice. Okay.
You useless, you goddamn fucking idiot. There has to be something else.
So at some point he used the disinfectant to make the cocktail.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Interesting.
What happened to him? Did he just break something? Did he
I
get
wonder if he
axed?
tried to go through the vent and got hurt
Yeah.
real bad.
That's what I think. Nutrition pouches. Cake. Cocktail. Isopropyl alcohol. Mouthwash and isopropyl. Mixed drink base and sweetener. Oh god. Is it still around here anywhere? Oh, the thing is broken anyway.
Well, it's covered in foam.
Yeah.
It's in there. Medical's locked. Oh! What the fuck? The fuck?
Girly? Oh.
Yeah, he definitely got in here through that. Ira?
I'm already looking in here. At least try to make yourself useful. God damn it!
That's fucking wild.
You're just not allowed to look over here.
Nope.
Damn.
Not looking there.
Guess we look downstairs. Of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was weird. Oh, the blood. You can follow the blood.
Oh.
I'm scared.
What if you looked behind you? Well, that's safe and totally normal.
What
What?
the fuck did that say?
Responsible. Responsibility. Oh yeah.
Oh. To be quiet.
Any crouch?
What's written on the note?
A blind beast, aimless and restless. You can't run from it.
Fun.
Well, so we gotta go. Oh,
Oh. Oh god. Ah, I'm scared.
oh, oh my god. Oh, okay, we gotta.
Maybe just stop moving?
And maybe when it comes closer, you have to stop moving. Now that's an SCP.
Terrified.
It's alright, we're gonna die a couple times here, probably. It's alright.
It's fine, it's fine. It's not Dice Gate this time.
Okay. Yeah, it goes away if we're quiet. Okay.
Haunts.
It definitely pauses for a second and you can't tell if it's still here, yeah. Bro, it is right there.
I don't think we can go that way.
Maybe not, yeah. Try going back the other way. Horse. What?
Oh yeah.
Yes, horse. Poye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it got close that time.
Oh yes, very unhappy.
Oh no.
Gonna go away?
It sounds really close by, huh?
Sounds like it's right behind me.
Don't turn around.
You gotta look.
Don't turn around.
Fine, you can look. Oh, look, a ladder. We love ladder. don't want to look at it?
I don't think there's anything to look at unless, like, you're in actual danger.
You go straight, I think, yeah. Conveniently. Yeah, Alien vs. Predator Mouthwash Edition, for real.
If only we could eat some noise-making device far away.
If we're being honest, it's not gonna let you go that way, right? Yeah, no, it's not. Go the other way. Oh, I'm liking the game. It's a psychological nightmare, but hell yeah.
I feel like the character I'm voicing is about to just die.
Right? Well, they're all about to die, right?
Maybe one of them makes it.
They do have those pods that fucking Swansea keeps... I don't know.
Maybe Swansea goes on a murder spree.
Here's my thing. I think... I don't even think this is true. But, like, what if there's one pod and Swansea wants to make sure nobody else knows there's only one pod?
Murder spree. He turns this into lockdown protocol.
This reminds me a lot of It Steals, that one, like, retro horror game I played.
I mean, he was going after Jimmy with an axe. I mean, Jimmy kinda deserved it, but that's besides the point.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way we gotta go too.
Don't pee in the pod. Boy, yeah.
Boy, yeah. There. Boy, yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Alright, 1 second. I'm gonna take a potty break.
Damn, I should have let the ads play.
Damn.
All right, BRB, piss break.
Okay. Kenyon is returning to his desk now.
Boy, yeah.
Alright. Let's find out if dragon character dies. Oh, it just says ... Use mouthwash, it says. Okay. Oh, it's dragon. Dragon is not back.
I'm back.
Oh, dragon is back.
I'm sorry. I messed up.
Don't try to talk, Ben.
Especially not when you're eating food.
Especially not when I'm having Raisin Bran Crunch into the microphone.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
I think the vent in utility connects to medical.
Yeah, you said that, man.
Let me reiterate. I think the vent in utility goes into medical. But you heard what you said. Going in there now? It's too unstable. Trying to break the foam could risk the air seal. I just don't want to fuck up again like I did before.
You heard Anya. I wouldn't put it past her to do something extreme right now. You and me, Daisuke. We can save Curly, yeah?
Yeah, not our baby boy.
Swansea won't help, so we'll figure it out ourselves.
alright, yeah. Cool. Yeah. We got this. But even before the phone, how do we even get the door to utility open?
1238.
Swansea's been practically camping in front of the door, and he has the key.
I have an idea.
Oh, the cocktail.
Yeah. You're gonna have to trust me, though. We need to knock him out.
You cannot fight him?
No. Even he has to have his limits when it comes to booze, right? We make him pass out. Simple, safe. He might not even realize we did it after the fact. There's a recipe for a mocktail in the kitchen, okay? We can follow the steps, but use different ingredients to add a kick to it. Come on.
Oh, is Daisuke in SCP again?
Probably.
Fine, I'll follow you after.
Uh,
Yeah, just don't look at me. I like to walk in peace, you know?
Yeah, Blaps noticed too. Dragon breath mouthwash, as in dragon.
Yeah.
mhm.
It's my favorite brand of mouthwash, made myself. It's got fire it up a little, and it's a good mouthwash.
You just need to make it in the lounge. I don't know why I went around in a circle. Just a lap, you know?
You know, just
Just to
having
check in.
Daisuke get his steps in, you know?
It's just check in. Mouthwash with nice profile. Alright. Literally has the same little boop sounds as abiotic.
Well.
Drink
See if you can get
basis
sweetener.
I don't think I
Oh,
can.
hello, Daisuke.
I
Probably
think it's
not.
just gonna be the
Still
plain drink.
You know, knocking his lights
Maybe I need
out
to
with your
talk to
fist
Daisuke.
would have been a better idea.
Do that first.
We're out of sweetener.
Ad break is running currently.
No.
Okay, we can hold off for a second. It's only 20 seconds.
Immediately slurps.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear us slurping now.
Unless they're subbed, then they can hear everything.
Ah!
Raisin Bran Crunch ASMR is only for subbies.
Oh no.
Alright, it says community is back. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Any ideas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was your line.
It's okay,
Mr.
he's
Raisin
chewing.
Brand.
Oh, yeah.
Might have accidentally at some point mistakenly misplaced a few packets before. By accident.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You could take a look around my stuff. Could be somewhere around there. But also, totally, somewhere else, maybe. Who knows? Anything's possible. The crash or jumbled everything up.
Oh my god.
I'm not
Okay.
a total mess. What are you talking about?
So yeah, go look at where
Oh god, no. I
his
didn't mean to
bed
go
is,
through
I
this
guess.
again. Yeah. Thank god spacebar fast forwards through it.
Oh, that was easy.
Sweetener and drink bait.
Starting to sound
Drinking
like
mouthwash
Swansea.
for the stream, damn.
Should have been drinking isopropyl alcohol. Sweetener.
Stay on theme.
Stay on theme.
Not the McDonald's. No, I don't want the new spicy nuggets. Honestly, Wendy's spicy nuggets are better anyways. Every time McDonald's does their spicy nuggets, I'm like, these aren't that spicy.
Oh, what about the 20-piece curly McNuggets?
Did you say curly?
That drink looks sick. I can totally picture myself on a beach with a hot babe and a few of those. Haha, wink. Then I drink too many and throw them all over myself and probably them too, and never be able to drink them again. Ah, good times.
Let's just get this to Swansea, bud.
Swansea, Ira.
Swansea.
Brother!
He's doing something else.
You
that's okay.
taking my teaching? You teaching my intern now? I personally try to educate based off years of experience. But that's just me, Captain.
Maybe you gotta...
Probably, yeah, I need to press tab, yeah.
The fuck is that?
Look, we need to keep working together, okay? If this is how I can get us through this without us being at each other's necks all the time, then... Ira.
Swansea.
Yeah, give it here.
We kinda freestyled the recipe.
Yeah, I can tell you had a little hand in this monstrosity. This ain't no mixologist. Sure as hell ain't no mechanic either. You should never come here. Who the fuck even decided to let you on board?
Also, Blap says, love the Swansea voice.
Stick to the idiot with a bunch of sad sack adults and see what he learns, eh?
Damn.
Bootstraps and all that, what a load of horse shit. You think it's all going somewhere, but every failure leaves you a little more mangled. Older, uglier, and meaner. Smarter in the worst way.
Wallowing doesn't suit you, Swansea.
I suppose you think we should all be acting like you. Our hard-working, esteemed captain. I say take a load off before the sun finally sets in on this. On this party. May we never go to hell, but always be on our way.
God damn. Isopropyl.
much of that shit did they put in there? Like,
Yeah.
goddamn.
The whole bottle, apparently, because they didn't have enough to sanitize the guy.
Phew.
All right, let's see what's in the utility room.
Is he still breathing? He practically bounced off the ground.
He'll be fine. His tolerance has to be through the roof by now. Probably just wake up with a massive headache.
Oh man, he's gonna be so mad. I'll never get a good reference now.
Buddy. We're
Yeah,
beyond that.
that's the worst of your worries, bud.
Boofs. Captain, you sure about this? Maybe we could talk with Swansea when he's cleared up a bit later. He's just, like, really into workplace safety and stuff, you know? Just, like, totally cool and stuff, I think. It taught me.
It's time to be brave, Daisuke.
No.
Curly and Anya are counting on us.
Why don't you be brave, Jimmy?
Yeah, why don't you fucking do it, Jimmy? You're
Wait.
the captain.
Whoa. It's, like, barely foamed up at all. Hey,
Hey.
it's those things. I've never been inside one. What are they called again?
Cryostasis pods.
Oh yeah, these things are far out. Totally sci-fi, bro. Oh, it looks like this one still
Just
works.
like you said.
Bro, I knew it.
How long can these things even keep you frozen?
20 fucking years.
Can't believe Swansea managed to clear all the foam from here.
He didn't.
What?
Think about it. Swansea never let you work with him on breaking the utility room foam wall, right?
No, it needed to be handled delicately. Said I have way too much athletic strength in my arms. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was just torn right through that foam. I was like, damn. Makes total sense. Bummer. So I've been in charge of the kitchen instead. Said it's next level critical to keep stock and organize everything. Had me double, triple, quadruple check everything like all the time.
Right, of course. And he never told you he'd gotten in here, hmm?
No, but look how busy he must have been.
There was never any foam here. And Swansea has known the whole damn time. Just taking a load off before the sun finally sets on this party, huh? That boozed up bastard has been biding his time until he can save himself.
Would getting in the pod really mean you'd get rescued?
20 years more of a chance to get found. I'd take those odds over our current situation. Not like this, though. Not by living through my teeth while waiting for everyone else to die. Lying. Yeah.
No, man. That just can't be right. I'm sure there's a reason. I'll ask him about when he wakes up.
We'll deal with him after. Right now we have a job to finish.
And the vent looks like it's still in one piece.
One Piece.
One Piece. Whoa, check out those
Oh, no.
sparks.
Wait. So what if there's one working vent, but climbing up in this fucking vent foams the whole room?
I don't even think it's that. I just think it's all the danger stuff in the vent that hurts him.
Maybe. We'll see.
Hey, Jimmy, can you go and vent instead?
Yeah, for real. I vote Jimmy.
I vote Jimmy too. Let's vote Jimmy out, please.
Yeah, he's the sussy among us.
Blue is sus. Blue is sus. I hate to imagine how gnarly looks on the inside.
It could be somewhat collapsed in places. You could make it through. We just need to try.
You mean we, Jimmy? Swansea said it's not safe. Oh yeah. Forgot to tell us about the pod, but he knows like everything about this kind of stuff. Maybe we should just wait for him to wake back up.
You said you could handle it. Swansea taught you well, right? Hell no. Time to prove it. He'll be impressed when he wakes up. Proud.
This kid is so gullible.
He'll understand why we had to do this, and then he can explain himself. He won't come at Boo with an axe.
You think so?
Daisuke, everyone's counting on you, man. Captain's orders.
Yeah, I got this. I got this. Okay. Here we go.
Oh no. To be just Anya straight up attacks him.
Anya? What did you do?
Oh, jeez.
Find
the what?
gun.
What the Wait, one day before the crash? Who the fuck is looking for a gun?
He's saying she hit it, so I'm assuming he's saying Anya.
Oh. Oh. Right.
Oh, maybe it's in the captain's quarters.
Everything's in the captain's quarters.
No. Everything's in the cockpit. This could be in the captain's quarters, which is out that door.
Right.
To the right. Try the right.
He checked.
Oh, okay. Well, we know where it is. We know where everything is.
Everything's in the cockpit. And the utility is shut.
Bruh. Alright, what new hell are we unleashing in here now? Oh, yeah.
For fuck's sake. Where is it? Us being let go isn't the reason to hurt yourself. Anya. It's our nurse, you never got psych evals. I should have thought of that. Yeah, come to me for feeling stressed. What would you have done? Anything. Anything. You, the crew, are all my responsibility. I told you so over and over, yeah? I'm not going to hurt myself. You know the gun is in a safe case I can't open. I hid the case itself. Tell me where it is. None of this has to be on our performance log. We'll figure it out together. I'm pregnant.
Oh
What?
my god.
Oh no. Wait, is it
You're
his?
what? Who would you... Captain, I told you. Listen to me. We can fix this. I've known him for a long time. I'll talk to him.
It's Jimmy's.
I know
Oh,
you'd never give
no.
me the gun to protect myself. The least I can do is make sure he never gets it either. What the hell?
Yeah, make sure that Jimmy piece of shit doesn't get the gun.
Detected a normal astro trajectory along the route. Where's directions that be required for entry?
Bro.
Oh. Hmm.
The bleeding won't stop. Just try to stay still, Daisuke. I need a second to think. We can fix this. Ira.
Let's see.
Hey kid. You hear me?
Uh,
Daisuke. Hey, stop. 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 Don't move.
It's all right, Daisuke. Calm down. This line of work. You could have never become a little like miserable old Swan niece. What a tragedy.
He's so drunk he can't even pronounce his name.
Oh my gosh.
Decades
Decades
of
of
throwing
hauling
ass.
ass for decades of throwing ass. Pony Express, the big and mighty bruiser with all his shiny tools. This is where it got me. The good life, huh?
All it is.
Thought you were dumber than a can of paint. Always just chewing my ear off about nothing. Useless ray of goddamn sunshine. Not an A student, career workhorse, or force of ambition. Just a damn good kid trying his best. You could have taught an old fool like me a lot. Close your eyes, Dusky.
No.
Oh. Bro, this game is fucked.
Oh.
You monster. I could have fixed him, Swansea. I have to do everything myself. Why can't any of you just give me some time to fucking think? Oh, God.
How do you still not understand? It's over. End of the fucking line. He won't suffer one more second because of your delusions.
Unbelievable. Stop pretending. I know all about your plan, Swansea. I went to utility. I saw what you've been hiding down there. Sneaking around with that axe, telling Anya who knows what. Now this? You're making sure you're the only one who gets inside that cryopod.
Ha! I sure did talk to Anya. But it was her telling me all sorts of things instead, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Shouldn't a captain go down with a ship? Not that it matters anymore. I ain't got no place to be. I got everything I could ever want right here on this ship.
Plenty of mouthwash.
Go ahead and get in that pod. You ever get found, you can tell them whatever fucking story you like. You earned it.
No, dude, he's gonna fuck with the pod. Yeah.
A gun.
Okay, maybe we check his quarters now. I don't know if it'll ever let us in there. I'm just at some point it's got to, right?
What
To the right?
What if
Check
it was
what it says.
Swansea's kid?
That should be
That's what
wild.
she
It
was
was just
talking to him about.
There's no way it was Swansea's. Ew. It's definitely Jimmy's.
I mean, it's possible.
I
Ew.
can't believe they did that to him.
Maybe it was Daisuke's.
No, impossible.
Jeez.
Then Curly, I guess.
Yeah, I figured she OD'd.
She killed them both. Is he alive still?
Yeah,
Bro, is he?
that's the gun. Yeah, he's breathing, dude.
Gross.
Didn't show the code anywhere for it.
Hmm. Maybe we have to go to the cockpit. Hmm. 3-digit number. Have we encountered any 3-digit numbers?
No.
What's on the bulletin?
Anxiety.
We are here for you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's here. You can't click on him at all?
No, I'm trying.
Okay. All right, let's go to the cockpit. Always the cockpit, bro. And then Swansea's gonna get us.
Honestly, I hope so.
Yeah. What, you want Swansea to live through this?
No, I just hope Swansea gets Jimmy.
Probably in the utility. Maybe it's the one in the back of the utility?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 739.
739.
Alright, well, we know now. So it's on the way out of the fucking cockpit that weird shit's gonna happen this time, right?
Blood Ocean?
Go to the
Question
right,
mark?
go to the right, go to the right. Up that way. It's faster. Well, you know, maybe not by much.
You have cut
mean,
off
we're
2
going
steps from our
to
journey.
medical.
Where the fuck is Swansea? I guess he's in utility. Seven, 3, 9.
Just starts fucking laughing. And I was like, what the fuck are you gonna do with a gun at this point? Oh, the door is
Oh.
closed.
And yeah, immediately close it.
Jimmy's mom. Sorry.
I told him. Anya, you should have waited for me. What did he say? Nothing that makes any difference. Did he seem angry? Where did he go? Just walked away. Really, I don't want him in here anymore. Oh, fuck. Just wait, I need to find him. Everything's gonna be okay.
Oh, maybe it was Swansea's. Oh my
Oh.
god.
Wait, there's a paper on the table. Maybe it's on there? What? Medical record? No, that's just a psych eval.
I can feel how angry Curly is.
Let me go to the cockpit.
Of course you do.
Everything's
Oh.
in the cockpit.
Okay, so now it's definitely Jimmy, because Jimmy would be in the cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
He's the co-pilot.
Jim, I can fix this.
What do you think will happen when we get back? Hmm?
We can figure all of this out. You and me.
All I ever hear is how great of a leader you are. God, it's so annoying. But now... What do you think will happen now when we get back?
We'll fix this together.
Everything you and I worked for in our lives, accomplishments, changes, none of it will matter.
You've gotten through difficult situations before. This time won't be any different. Work through it, one day at a time.
It's not just me, is it? You were supposed to be the one who had everything under control. You said so yourself. This ship, this crew, everything that happened here, this was your responsibility, Captain. That is what you'll be hearing the rest of your life. Or, this can all be remembered as a tragedy. Despite what must have been the best efforts of its acclaimed captain. The Tulper crew was never found. No one survived to tell the tale.
Whoa,
Oh.
we get to
Oh,
see
shit.
him.
Oh no, he's hot! You're standing at the top. So did Jimmy cause the accident? Huh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess he put the idea out there.
Made him had a psychotic break, dude.
Feet in cement. I get it now. Right?
Sorry. Right.
Wait a minute. Do they kiss? Okay.
No, no, no kissing.
I'll take care of it.
I just saw something about responsibility and kills 99%. Damn, he handsome. Curly, we're like. I can't read. What?
Whitely.
Hoitly?
Coit-
Hotly?
Coitly.
Whitely.
I think they mean
Height?
hotly.
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 Yeah. Curly, more like curly my toes.
Oh my
Oh, no.
god.
Put those dogs away.
Judgment time.
Judgment time.
So it really was Jimmy that caused the crash. System failure.
Just cowering here.
Oh god. Jim, tell me you didn't. I should have. I didn't. What the fuck did you do?
What the fuck? So it was
So
Jimmy the whole time.
really got fucked up.
1 hour before judgment. Now let's take him. Take him to the cryopod. We gotta put Curly in. He deserves it.
Or is it down this way, right?
Yeah. Free my boy Curly. He ain't do nothing.
Oh.
Oh?
No.
Throw him on the ground. Hang on. We gotta open this door.
Well, I can't. I can't.
Left.
Give me left.
Oh, it's dark as fuck, dude.
Right? Left?
There we go.
Somewhere.
There we go.
There. Oh.
Oh
no.
my god. Well, there's the
Good.
knife. That's all 3 of the others?
Oh no.
Oh, not the cake.
Oh.
Woohoo! Yippee!
Yippee! Happy birthday,
Oh, he shot
Captain.
him in the head already, dude. Look at the
Oh my
swans here.
god. The axe wound, the fucking bullet, and oh my god.
It's wrong.
You know, people did. I did hear that you play this game again and you pick up on things.
Hmm.
Yippee!
Ira, you want to be here for this?
Here, here.
Oh god.
To Captain Jimbo.
He climbed the ladder, all right.
Come on. You have to give a speech.
Come
Ira.
on, have a seat. Or have at it. You better make it good.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Our
Woohoo.
captain. Captain Jimmy.
Oh god. Got the cake.
Get the job,
Good job done.
No,
Oh, no.
dude. Liz,
got-
you want me to?
No, it's fine. I'll be fine.
Okay.
It's just like the cake, guys.
He's gotten a cake.
You know what it makes me think of is Outlast Trials.
Is it cake? Oh, this one was not cake. This was people. Oops.
It's a rimroll cake.
A lot of people struggle to put food on their plates, but it wasn't enough. Right, Captain? The lowest rung of your ladder is our highest. Until it was all slipped from under your feet. Life isn't even worth living same level as us. But I forgive you. All of us do. All of us. I won't give up on you. Even like this. I believe in you. We're gonna make it through this. Sometimes we thrive, travel the endless reaches of space. But other times, we just have to accept days like these, where we eat our captain. You taught me that, Curly. Let's eat. Let's survive. Bro, what the fuck? Take responsibility? Oh my god.
Shoot yourself in the fucking head, Jimmy.
Literally in a video game. Oh my god. Not the fucking keys goose hanging itself.
Oh,
Shit.
we're venting?
The rope? There's a ladder in here. Campbell's. Soup.
You can't
Yeah,
even,
you don't want to go in there.
can't even see.
Wait, hang on. Look over there one more time. On the toolbox. Cosmo and Wanda. Oh, wait. There's a dude in half. No, it's not.
Huh?
What?
Cosmo and Wanda. Oh, there we go. We go that way.
Oh,
Who dat?
That's
Oh, it's Daisuke.
oh.
Oh.
Dice case and SCP again.
Oh, damn.
Oh.
Not the beating heart.
That's his
Oh my
face.
god. Oh my god. That's fucked up.
Oh.
No turning back now.
Okay. I'm pressing W, guys. I'm not turning
I
around.
think I'll turn back now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna take a sip of water.
Yeah, take a nice long sip of water right here. Mmm. That's good.
Or you like this? Gonna smack you.
A few inches later.
Inches?
Yeah, you just gotta inch closer to this thing. This post-it note.
Okay. Pressing
I
W.
can smell you.
Stop it.
Okay.
Ah!
But
He said,
okay, maybe we just keep going forward anyway. Okay.
literally holding W.
Oh, wait. Walk backwards, but don't look.
Oh. Got him. Maybe you can go to the right now?
I'm trying to boom and There's nothing.
Tab? Oh, okay.
Oh.
Welcome to Mouthwashing. Well, you press the button, I guess. Leave?
Leave? I think leave.
Oh, you got somewhere with the going backwards, at least.
Yeah, I think you are supposed to walk backwards. I just don't know.
Oh.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh. Okay, the note's not there now. Now can you look backwards? Nope. Okay, well, I definitely think you gotta walk backwards. I just don't know what to do. Oh, it's
Maybe
on
you're
that
allowed to
side
look
this
at
time.
this vent?
Oh yeah, look at this vent. And then walk backwards.
Ah, that was probably the other vent we backed up to.
She.
Oh. Hello, dice case things.
Oh, God.
Okay, you're not allowed to look at his things.
Responsibility.
The vent. You stuffed in there. Love that
I
we're
don't
walking
like
backwards
any of
into things
this.
that we're
I
not looking
hate
at.
all of this. Oh, God. Of course, the end is gonna be the spookiest. I'm just pressing. I'm just
God,
holding
you're going
S
so
down.
far back, too.
Oh, I hate the sound. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oof.
Oh.
Down to utility.
Oh.
Oh,
Hmm.
this is fun. This is neat. This
Oh.
is,
Oh. Okay.
you probably gotta open the one down. Oh, jeez. Whee! Yippee! Oh, it's, oh. Boy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
What are all those? Axes? Oh my
Axes.
god.
Oh.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
I'm terrified. You're like reacting, and I'm the one playing it, bro.
Well, honestly, stream was moving really quickly because it was the fall to the corner of my eye, so I got spooked by that.
Fuck is venting? There's no one
Boy,
else here. It's Boye.
boy, yeah.
Boye.
Good old red light. More of Daisuke crammed in event. It's really honing in on the Daisuke of it all.
Well, you I was gonna
Oh.
say you directly caused Daisuke's death, but I think you're about to
Hmm.
cause another one.
Howdy
Can't even
doodly,
talk
Jimbo.
to him.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Is this hell? Is this a cemetery years later when you survive and you go to all their graves, or what?
Beloved
I hope the
friend,
hell
I
Jimmy
remember
isn't the one
you.
who survives.
So you are eternal.
Curly. Hmm. No, Jesus. Okay.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh no.
Got one bullet left. You know what it's for, right?
All right, we gotta figure out what we gotta do here. Oh.
So I just shoot him?
Oh yes.
I tried.
Apparently.
I just tried.
God, man just rounds the corner on you.
Right.
Because I'm like, alright, I straight up just left clicked that time.
Okay, he's coming from where the bells are, I think. I mean, get into an open space where you have only one direction to look in. You gotta look both ways right now.
There's not really a place where I don't have to look both ways.
Well,
Maybe
you
if you
shouldn't
go down
stand
that
here.
corridor to your right.
Oh god, I can't even run. I'm gonna get jump scared by this guy over and over and over.
Can you aim the gun? Well, that was closer.
I don't... I'm pretty sure it went off that time.
Maybe it's supposed to happen? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it sounds like he wants to get behind you. Nice. It's an interesting UI. There he is. So it sounds like you're gonna have to look away and then turn and shoot him.
Oh man, I'm so annoyed. I don't like stuff like this where it like gets kind of, I don't know, too specific. There we go. Shot him again.
Yeah.
He's like bleeding now.
I think maybe you got him that time?
I did.
Whew,
I'm
man.
screaming about it, but I'm still doing it.
Ira.
Oh
wanna do this
god,
one?
that was the worst one.
I have something to say. So shut the fuck up and listen. I spent 13 and a half years cut up to my eyeballs, Drunk, to put it mildly. Then suddenly I saw a street light shining in my face. 500 gigawatts of the power of God. Vision of my bloated body found in some ditch. Scared me straight. So I got a collared shirt, mortgage, and a credit card. All the things that make a good man. I hoped I could raise my children to be better than their old man. I wanted to believe I was never one setback away from my worst self. But the truth is, discipline, drive, routine, the endless fucking desperation to get shit done. A loving wife, great kids, sobriety. I'm telling you.
2001.
You. Accomplishments I'd be chasing all my life. Never felt as good as I expected when I crossed the finish line. So now that we're at the end, taking inventory, those nights spinning out of my head, sinking into the sofa, broken glass in my palms, bleeding dry, funniest thing ever. Old dogs laughing and snarling on a waterbed floor, mocking the moon for daring to show its face. All nausea and wreckage and vomit, ugly cruelty. Only problem in the world, an empty bottle. Those were the best days of my life. Yeah. Those were the best days of my life. I got nothing to hide, ready to face the music. I can see myself for what I am. But you? A cowardly, selfish motherfucker. You can't even see it. I should have been able to protect the kid. If I could have done one thing right, I wish I'd been... wish it had been to give him one small chance off this goddamn rock.
Swansea. I'm gonna fix everything. Don't worry. We're gonna make it.
Fuck you.
Well, pause.
Oh, yeah, pause for a sec.
Your Discord's acting up.
Yeah, it is. It's doing the squeaking. Let me see. Stream usually says stuff normal. It's a good time for an ad break.
Who wants to play video game?
I don't know. Is it fixed?
Yeah, you're fixed.
Okay, cool. Oh shit. OBS, go back over there. Incoming ad
Dragon said
break.
she's grabbing a drink.
Anyway, yeah, it works out. Okay.
Perfect ad break time.
I mean, it could have been a little bit sooner, honestly. Okay. Unless that was the end of the ad. I don't know. I think it was
The
it
ad just
starting.
ended like right now, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. No more mic issues. Sorry. Like, my mic died at some point, I guess, but at least on Discord, y'all heard it too. I gotta get up to stretch for a second. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, sorry, Swansea. There's an ad and some mic issues to deal
I'm
with.
saying, yeah, sorry.
Fuck you.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna take this as a chance to take a little bio break, as some say.
Yeah. Hold on. Where's my Wii music? I got that waiting music somewhere.
The fact that SpongeBob never made a game called Wii Knee Hut Juniors for the Wii is really a travesty.
God. Alright. All I gotta say is this game gives me such an abiotic feel. Like with the horror too a little bit.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
In
think we're just waiting
contrast to the
for-
other screenshot I just sent, there is this one. This game is beautiful.
You said the screenshot.
The open chat.
On the VC. Oh, I gotta stream games to you guys. I'm just. Oh yeah. Empty. Just like my soul. I don't know.
Empty, yes. Oh, right. 2001. That was on a clock during the
The thing,
scene.
yeah, and then you saw the towers intact in the background. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Mm-hmm. Why does it look like all of them are okay?
right? Do you like clear the foam from all of these?
I mean, what's the point in doing that now? It's just going
Maybe all of
insane.
this was just illusions? I mean, I don't know. What if there was never any crash? What if he just crashed out? Okay, that's not physically possible. Pipes. Oh my god!
Why did you yell
Oh.
like that? That's what scared me more than that.
I'm sorry, it freaked me out.
Freaked me out too, but back up from the mic, bro.
Oh, hello, Curly.
That screw scared me more. Jesus Christ. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. This bitch needs to stop yelling in the mic. He
put it where it is,
whispers
okay?
during comms. Ew. Yucky. Ew. Ew.
Are we the pill going down his throat
Yummy,
now?
yummy.
Sorry, you missed a jump scare, sorry.
Yeah.
No, that scared the shit out of me.
Mom, this is what a vagina looks like.
Oh,
I wouldn't know, son. I wouldn't know.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Mods, unbirth this man.
I'm scared.
Hello again, Curly.
Why? Carly
hey, it's
didn't
Valve.
deserve that. Oh my god. Look
No.
at that. Look at that.
Oh no.
It was Curly's mouth.
We're just watching cartoons.
Mm. God, I'm so uncomfortable. But also legit, my neck hurts so fucking bad lately. Oh no.
Cut the cake. Oh my god.
Oh, I
Leave.
don't want to take
Why don't we just
Curly's
leave?
swing. I don't want to take Curly.
No, no.
Peace!
No,
What are
don't
we?
eat it,
What
no.
are we? Who are you? Are you the fucking cannibals from Sons of the Forest? Fuck you. I kill those guys when I play Sons of the Forest. I'm murder hard.
Yummy.
Look, it's
The
Lupin.
children eating meat.
Wow.
Curly, I note a distinct second leg that you have there.
See, we
Be
need
ashamed. Be ashamed.
need some cake.
He's click on his jaw, bro.
Oh no. Can turn his valves.
Just the red ones.
Oh, you have to align the tubes.
Oh, I hate. Oh, if y'all
Oh.
could only see my
Is there a
face. My
spine
webcam's
there?
literally broken. I probably would have streamed with the face cam on this, but... So this only turns like 2 ways? Oh my god, do the other valves turn at all? God, I'm so sorry, Curly.
We gotta turn the valves, I guess, until...
So it's only the red ones for sure that work.
Yeah. And they only have 2 positions each. Which means there's only 12... 12? 4 factorial combinations. So, 12,
This one
24.
I can't tell where it turns.
Do it again. Okay, we want his head upright, I think. So, turn it again. That has his head up. So, leave that one where it's at. Now let's try the other one.
This one? Oh.
Okay. Let's maybe leave that one there, and then the bottom one. I think we want that one turned up. And then I guess try this one. I don't know what that one needs to do. Let's open his mouth.
It doesn't help him.
I feel like maybe something
24.
comes out of his mouth if we get the combination.
This game
right.
looks silly. You know, it's really not, but this part
Right,
kinda is
it-
silly.
What? Do we need to give him something?
Have any?
Yeah, what do we... Oh no! We make him eat his own leg and then we make him swallow it. Oh god. Have some leg, Curly. Eat some cake. Happy birthday, man. Oh, you're not allowed to do that.
So I guess
Oh,
that top one's
We have to
wrong?
make it. We have to make it so that the pipes let the leg go down.
Disgusting. Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah. Does it show us how far it gets?
I think it got stopped up on that first one up there.
Okay, so let's try and put the leg back in. See where it goes.
This one doesn't turn. I'm trying to get that one to turn, right?
No. Turn the
No, I
top
think-
one more
yeah.
time.
Turn it.
And then take the leg from his lap. Okay, now put it in his mouth. See how far it gets.
So I think it starts at that top.
Someday
right?
he'll thank me. Okay, yeah. It's going through.
Oh, it's down
Okay.
there. So that
Almost, so I gotta turn
What's
Alright,
this
this
we
one.
got
wrong?
stuck on that one. So turn the bottom one. And then we put it in his mouth again.
oh, you turned it twice.
This one.
No.
Right? No, this one's fine?
No, the bottom one.
Well, actually, no, you're right. I think you're right.
Because it started going up and it got
Because it went up that one, but it stopped on there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this one probably goes around and back over here.
And then,
That's
yeah,
probably-
turn that one. Turn that one. Because we want it to go down. Yeah, perfect. Now feed his leg.
okay.
God damn it. Now feed him his leg is not something I figured I'd say tonight.
So casually, too. Feed him his leg.
Alright,
Oh, perfect. Now feed him his leg.
Well, it's working now.
Yummy birthday cake. Yummy
Yeah,
birthday.
Seems
so
wholesome and
wholesome
delightful.
and delightful.
Pure whimsy.
Help me.
Help me.
Yeah.
I helped you. Have some birthday cake. Oh no.
I'm pressing
controlling him now?
WASD. Yes.
Bro. Oh. This
Jimmy?
fucking game.
Oh!
What is this?
Oh.
Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1?
I'm saying.
Leon, turn.
Oh, if I try to press like S or A or W, I only go forward.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what I press now, as long as I'm
I need
pressing
some Lady
something.
Gaga.
Bum bum beat 'em bum bum.
Walk, walk, fashion baby, work it, do that shit crazy. Work that runway. Yes, Jimmy. Look, that you are on fire.
I want to go home.
Oh my god, me too. We are home.
Yeah, I was thinking of disturbing because of the stomping. Yeah. Why don't you finish what you started? Don't worry. If anyone ever finds us, I'll still be playing the villain. You'll be the better man in the end, like you wanted. I could have stopped it. I'm taking responsibility.
No. We can both be heroes. We're a team. Just you and me. Like we used to be. What happened was an accident. We were trapped. I made a mistake, alright? I'm sorry! I'm so fucking sorry, Curly!
A little late for that, bud.
That Curly's on fire!
I want this
we're
to be
venting
done.
again.
But wait, there's more!
I can't wait to see more dice case in the vent.
We are the leg now. What new interesting turns could this take? What if now in the metaphor we were the leg? That's the direction we should go. I'm such a good writer. I love making games.
Where do we go? Forward?
Oh, we gotta go in there.
I don't
Maybe.
know how.
Oh, is this an ultrasound? Oh my god, because she was pregnant? I'm gonna try not to scream.
Just back away from her mic. Bro, do I just need to keep it in the front here? I don't know.
I heard stuff off to the left side.
Yeah, I
The
keep
baby is
seeing it
kicking over there,
move,
yeah.
Yeah. But then I
Left.
can't see it super well. And it goes up east.
See? Noises. Oh. What the?
That's a horse!
Play? Play? Oh.
I just you couldn't go, oh no.
Oh,
no.
she fucked the horse. She's pregnant with Boye.
But yeah, no, but yeah. How could she do this to me? She cheated on me with boy.
I'll fix it. I'll fix that you fucked the horse. I'll kill us all.
We just need to go back this way now? I don't know. I looked at the
Maybe
horse.
you gotta ultrasound the new
Like,
eyeball.
impossible,
It's an
but-
eyeball now. Oh no, wait, it's giving birth.
Oh, it's over here now.
Boy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, the whole thing up. Fucking. Oh God, it's coming. The baby is almost here.
Oh, oh,
Oh no.
I'm horrified right now. I wish you could see my face right now. I just. Oh my god. Okay, I was like, what happens? All clean.
All clean.
All clean.
Hope this hurts. Really get rid of that bad taste in your mouth, huh? Through wreckage. Silence. Wash it away. All day fire fresh. Oh god. Mouthwash.
I can fix this. We just have to feed the baby the mouthwash. Oh, what is that? Let's just pretend that's normal.
This is fine.
Took the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Got faces?
You
There are
know
those
what?
eyes?
Jimmy, when
Maybe it's fine.
there's a nuke going on here, guys. I can fix it.
Yeah, pretend what's normal? That normal thing? Yeah, that's always been normal.
I knew something like that was gonna happen, but
Oh god, run. Scamper.
I'm trying.
Gosh. It's Dead by Daylight, but venting.
I got it, guys. I know how to juke. Juking.
Quickly,
Juking the
juke
killer.
the baby. Juke the baby.
Don't juke the baby.
Juking the killer,
Oh,
guys.
God.
I'm so good at this, guys.
Ah.
I'm glad I'm terrifying my whole Discord. I gotta let them do this alone.
I thought it got you. It like ended so fast.
I know. I was like, oh no, okay. Fuck. Alright, well. Walking into more darkness. This prize fucking W. Oh, okay. I was like, what are those little babies?
They're all little babies.
This shit make babies look like this time around. I think they're being
Are they
pretty cool.
ID cards?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh. Hello,
Jimmy
Dice
and
King.
Swansea and Daisuke.
Wait, where's she?
Right? Yeah. I think she's like under there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's like they made one wallpaper for it and just stuck it everywhere. Running from Kermit. Oh god.
Oh. Hello, mouthwash.
Beautiful.
Falling petals, so beautiful. Oh. Oh, boy, yeah.
Boy, yeah.
Ooh. He's got voice lines.
Monokuma, what?
Literally, yeah, Monokuma. I'm used to visual novels like this. Onion.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is me. Sorry, I'm in shock.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah,
Morning.
speaks to us.
Pony Express is dead. I killed it. And so are you. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Shut
Oh.
up. Curly tried his best. I did too, but he's the better man. I see that now. We can both still make it. I'll take care of him. I'm taking responsibility. Curly. Captain. I'm so sorry. Yes. 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 Yes, I do. I fucked up. But I could still make this right. Our worst moments don't make us.
Oh.
Okay, now we put him in the cryopod, right?
Or we put some more valves in him and see what happens.
Yeah.
Utility.
Curly, how would you like to be Cake more?
Oh no. No more cake
How
for
about
Curly.
spaghetti this time?
Would you like to be fuck.
Well, made into a liquid and then a mocktail.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've already fed him his other leg at this point. Go home?
Go home.
Ah, easy. Go home.
Curly, how would you like to go home? What if I just put him in the vent?
You just keep seeing the same sign over and over again for utility.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Get
there's
there
the door.
eventually. Unless there's some sort of infant human centipede.
Oh.
It's like an opera.
In
God, we're
space?
Curly. Kenyon.
It's okay, Curly. You're gonna be okay. You always had my back, and I ended up hurting you, even though I was trying to eat your leg. I was trying to save us. I just wanted birthday cake, but now you'll survive. It's like you said. Together we can fix anything. I'm just proud I got to be your friend, co-pilot, captain. No one can hurt you now. We fixed it. I fixed it.
You just hear a gunshot. Yep. What did I say? You
He
just hear a
forgot to turn on the
gunshot.
cryopod. He forgot to turn on the cryopod. No, okay, all right.
There it
Turn it on.
is. Apparently it just has a whole minute delay. Wrong organ.
Well, I'm very pleased with the last 3.5 hours that we spent. What about you guys?
I enjoyed the cake we had along the way.
Yeah. Well, there's no sense crying over every mistake. We just keep on going till we run out of cake. It's one
Man,
of those
this
games
Jimmy
where-
guy is such a good guy. Yeah, such a great guy.
Yeah, if you just really hone in on the part where he put his friend in the cryo chamber.
And ignore basically everything else that he said and did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He
Uh,
made everybody cake. Who does that? What a good guy.
Yep, round of
Thank
applause for
you.
Jimmy, everyone.
Thank you. Jimmy's mom. What are all? Oh, they're like different media they used. Fucking A. Analog horror, man.
You're
Hell yeah.
welcome. Follow us.
Wow. That was something else.
Wow. Almost 4 a.m. I didn't expect to take that long on that game.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a 2-hour runtime. And like, maybe if we weren't streaming it and taking our time, it could have been 2 hours if like
Yeah.
we were really running through it. But
Yeah, it's the
Reading it and
experience.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
mhm.
That was definitely an experience.
Oof. Yeah.
Now I can't wait to see other people play it. So I can
See
shut
the
my mouth and not say
reactions.
anything.
And stuff. Yeah, I appreciate anyone who and who joined and knows the end of the game and stuff like that.
Oh god. My head hurts. I'm just kidding. I think I'll have it now.
I think I'll have it now.
Oh boy, I can't wait to use some mouthwash.
Do you guys want amber or the teal Listerine?
Oh my. There's options?
I have both. Yo,
Wow.
actually, there's a small bottle of Colgate I've been saving for a special occasion.
I thought you were making a deadlock reference with the amber and the.
The sapphire. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of
yes.
half thought that too. We have the deadlock brain rot, if you didn't know. It's a syndrome.
The dead brain lock rot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got some good clips out of that one though.
Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna try and raid out now, and then I'm gonna save this VOD and upload it to the YouTube that I have. I just have an empty YouTube that's like for this exact reason. I've been meaning to do it with some of the Rampa ones too. The visual novels, because everyone's always reading with me and stuff, and those are fun.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Hi,
Everyone
YouTube.
I see streaming right now though is on like Valorant or Fortnite or something. I'm like, should I try and find someone else playing this game for the first time? Let's see. Why is everything in caps? Oh, here's a VTuber playing it for the first time. Also with some friends, similarly, like I was. They have like reactives ups and stuff. I think they look like a great person to raid. And then we'll see how long I stay up to watch their reaction to things. I'll probably go back and watch the VOD. Oh no! Invalid username. Oops, accidentally. Oh no! I keep typing it in. Oh, fine. I'll get it. I'll get it one of these days. I'm just ready. There we go. There we go. It's VTuber playing this game. Biggest Space Bear streamer on Twitch. Nice. That's what they're VTubing as. But thank you so much for watching and hanging out and going through that experience with us. Sorry if Omen was a little too loud, but I hope you enjoyed the voice acting. Yeah, I want to upload this on YouTube because I think people are going to really enjoy Ira's part in that. So who knows? We might have to make some clips of that. But if you aren't already following me, please go ahead and do that. I don't have a schedule, so the best thing to do is just have your alerts on for notifications. Otherwise, I have a Discord, and we talk about Deadlock in there lately. Because, yeah, Deadlock, brain rot. But alright, let's raid out. Thank you for hanging out. Good night or good morning. And I'll see you in the next stream.